I really wanted to love these BookTok books, but I just didn't. And this is not hate, like disclaimer. I'm just expressing my own personal opinion, and I'm going to be addressing what I liked in these books, what didn't work for me, and who these books might be suitable for, and maybe if you like them, even if I didn't. Hello everyone, it's Plotcore, and I know I do not film long form videos
Like ever.
but this is my first one because I have recently been wanting to express my book talk opinions with you guys and really get into the deep dives about why I didn't like them and who might actually like these books. Today I'll be breaking down these books in 4 different categories: characters, plot, writing style, and pacing. And I'm going to be breaking these down really thoroughly, going into a deep dive. And I'm going to also say that I'm not a hater. I'm not hating on these books. This is just my opinion. But if you want to disagree or agree with me, comment your ideas down below. Starting off with book number 1, this book was loved by the BookTok community. It was very popular at one point in, I think, 2024, 2025, but it was also very hated by the BookTok community, and honestly, I can understand that because I did not really get connected to the characters. The plot was it was okay, not really original. The world building was very shallow. I had a lot of plot holes in it, and half the time I was so confused as to what the point was with the whole book. For those of you who haven't read Lightlark is about a game where every ruler of the Isle comes together every 100 years to try and break the curses that have been set upon them. So each ruler plus their subjects each have a power, and they also have a deadly curse. So when they come together every 100 years, they are trying to break each other's curses. So this obviously forms alliances, but it also forms betrayals. And the main character, Isla Crown, is a young ruler who is coming to this game, and she's trying to break the curses, but the plot twist is she doesn't have a power, but that just means she doesn't have a curse. So the whole book is about her trying to break the curse and also try to hide the fact that she doesn't have a power, because if everyone knows, that means she will be killed. So starting off with the characters, main character Isla, I did not like Isla at all. I found her very whiny. She had a lot of pick-me behavior, and she just loved wallowing in her self-pity. Like, she didn't have powers, and I get that can be hard because she has to find a way to hide this, but most of the book is just her feeling bad for herself about not having powers, and I found that really annoying and whiny because also on this other page, Powerless, very similar. Everyone has powers, but main character Peyton does not. But unlike Isla, who's wallowing in self-pity and just doesn't know what to do, Peyton is being resourceful, and she has made her own psychic power to make sure that she doesn't get killed, and everyone's believing her, unlike Isla, who has to stay locked up in her own house just so people don't suspect anything. Then there is Isla's best friend, Celeste, and this is a big spoiler, so if you have not read Lightlark and you maybe want to read this, skip this, but it was very obvious that Celeste was not a good person. Like, from the start, I could tell that with all the things she was telling Isla to do, that she was not good. Maybe it was just that I've read a lot of murder mystery books and I just can pick up on these clues, but I could tell that Celeste was not a good person, so it was very obvious from the start. Moving on to the other main characters in this, Grim and Oro, and I honestly felt really bad for both of them because I think the whole purpose that the author Alex Astor really put them into the book was to make sure there was a love triangle, and I found that the whole personality was kind of being obsessed over Isla, which I found was really unrealistic, and it gave them no other purpose than to just exist as like love interests, which I found really bad, and I just did not like that whole concept of the book. With the writing style of Lightlark, it wasn't the worst I have ever read, but it wasn't the best ever. It was in the middle. I didn't really mind how Alex Astor just wrote the parts, but I think one improvement she could take is not to rush things. Like you could take your time with the little details as well, because those are also really important. So on to the pacing of Lightlark. I found Lightlark to be very fast, but not fast in a good anticipating way, more fast in a rushed way, like the author rushed the plot and the story along, especially with Isla and Grimm's relationship. I think Alex Astor, the author, wanted it to be marketed as an enemies to lovers, even though Isla and Grimm really disliked each other and they already got together before at least like half of the book. And I did not really enjoy that, because I find that I like the trope to be more spread out during the book, and I think that it was just rage bait for me at that point, because you cannot call it enemies to lovers if it happens like that. So everyone on BookTok was saying that the plot twist is crazy, and yes, it was very crazy. It was very twisting, like,
wow, I did not know that was going to happen. Totally.
But I just didn't. I was like, okay, the plot happened. I didn't really have a jaw-dropping moment like in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder or The Reappearance of Rachel Price. Maybe it's because this is a romantasy book and those are murder mystery books, but still, I think the plot could have been developed way better. Also, the fact that there was a lot of plot holes and world-building issues in this book. Like, for a long time, I thought it was just me who thought that there was plot holes and the whole book was very confusing and couldn't keep up with what was happening. But I did some research and I found out that a lot of people actually had the same issue I did when I was reading Lightlark, and I thought for a long time that I was just reading with my eyes and I was not processing with my brain. But this was a very much book issue that they had with the plot holes. Like, I could not keep up. So I just realized that after I filmed the breakdown of Lightlark, I forgot to add a few things, starting off with Isla's character again. And she was very picky and whiny, but also she was a very big player. And if you read Lightlark, you would probably agree with me that she was always just going back and forth and just choosing who she wanted to. And I also found that the book 3 of Lightlark was very annoying, because at the end of it, Isla makes a very dumb decision and it ends on a cliffhanger, and I at that point had just given up on Lightlark, and I was on my way to deciding whether I should or should not read the 4th book. And when it did come out, I found out that I was totally uninvested in the plot and I just didn't want to read it anymore, and I didn't want to put myself through that. So I decided to just DNF the series and be with my knowledge of what already is, and finding out from a friend that it also ends on a cliffhanger and some other really dumb stuff happens in it, along with Isla's bad choices, I just decided to not continue the whole series. Also, with Lightlark, after I finished the 1st book, I was really thinking to myself, like, wow, that was actually a really good book. But then, as time went on and I read the series, and it was starting to get worse and worse, and I had more knowledge about books during that time, as I read it over quite a long period of time, because I could not bring myself to read the 2nd and 3rd book at some points, I realized that Lightlark isn't actually a very good series, and I started to see things like we just broke down, like the plot and the characters, that made me just DNF the series altogether. One other thing about Lightlark that doesn't exactly fit into my breakdown guidelines was that the author, Alex Astor, I cannot tell you the amount of times I saw her post content that was saying how Lightlark is basically the Hunger Games, but fantasy. Like, if the Hunger Games was fantasy, you would get Lightlark. I just did not like when I saw content of that, because Lightlark and the Hunger Games are totally different books. The Hunger Games has a lot of different themes and it has a very different world compared to Lightlark, and me being a very big fan of the Hunger Games especially just did not like that contrast, which probably gave me more of a ick toward Lightlark as well. On to the next book that I did not like but BookTok really liked was If He Had Been With Me. Now, if he had been with me, I'll also be judging with the same way I have been judging Lightlark, on characters, plot, pacing, And overall writing style. So a quick summary of If He Had Been With Me for those of you who haven't read it. It starts off with the female main character, Autumn Davis, who used to be best friends with the next door neighbor, Finney, whose both moms have been best friends also for a long time before they settled down and they bought houses right next to each other. And Finney and Autumn were best friends for such a long time, more like since they could remember, but over time they began to drift apart until they were strangers by the time they had become teenagers. And the story is about Autumn realizing that she made a lot of mistakes by not staying friends with Finney, and it's about her finding her way back to Finney and seeing if it's too late or not to fix what she had broken. Based off of that description alone, I think I would have really liked If He Had Been With Me if it weren't for the characters in the book. So I found Autumn to be a very, very big pick me, and she was very desperate. And you'll probably be thinking that I think of
Every single main character is as a pick me, but
seriously, I don't. It's just all the books that I tend to dislike have characters who are very dislikable, and they do not make it easy for the audience to connect with them and really engage with them. Another attribute that really contributes to why I did not like Autumn was the fact that she wore tiaras every day to school. And if that doesn't spell out pick me, then I don't know what else can convince you of that. But also the fact that Autumn was very desperate to be seen as this specific figure, and also desperate to be like loved by everyone, was very insufferable, and I just did not like her when I was reading that. So another reason that I just did not like Autumn's character, and this is a very big reason, is with the whole Jamie Sasha situation, Sasha being her best friend and Jamie being her like current boyfriend at the time, and then them both liking each other, and Autumn felt really betrayed. I found her to be a very big hypocrite because she knew it felt bad, but she still at the end of the book went along with Finney, even though Finney was dating Sylvie, and she did the same thing that Sasha did with Jamie, and she just didn't even feel bad about it. She didn't have any remorse about it, which I find is just very bad and very unlikable of her character. And that's just another reason why I just could not stand Autumn and the whole book itself. Don't get me wrong, If He Had Been With Me, it was a sad book because of the ending. I wasn't that sad like as the other people I have seen on BookTok who like threw their book across the room because of that ending, but I think I would have been much more connected and like way more sad with the ending if I had liked the characters. Also going with Finney, the male main character in If He Had Been With Me, he was a very good character from the start. He was very funny, he was very kind, very good human being up until the kind of end of the story when he, spoiler alert, cheats on Sylvie with Autumn. That was a very big turning point for me. After that, I just didn't like Finney because I thought he was a really good guy, but turns out he just wasn't, and they both knew they were doing something wrong, and none of them really had remorse for it, especially Autumn. Finney felt bad about it. Finney tried to apologize. That's a step more than Autumn, I guess, but it still wasn't really good. I don't think we should be writing this in books and advertising it as being good love, because cheating is not good at all. It's unacceptable. So onto the plot. If He Had Been With Me was not a very plot heavy book, so I didn't really have to think much about it, but if you take away the characters, I really liked the plot of the book. Like if Autumn and Finney would ever actually go back to being good friends, that was what I really was looking forward to see if they were going to be good friends. But other than that, the plot was okay. It was pretty good. In the start of my breakdown of If He Had Been With Me, I did mention that there was a lot of repetitiveness in If He Had Been With Me, and I did not like it. Like, starting off with the actual fact that Autumn does, in her monologue, repeat a lot of things, like actual words, like saying, of course, of course, of course, of course, 4 times, which was very annoying for me to read. but also Autumn just repeating stuff to herself, like throughout the book. Like there was a lot of repetitiveness in that, like reminding herself that she wanted to do something or she wanted to be loved, or the desperation. It was very, very repetitive of herself to do, and that was also very annoying to read. Along with the pacing of the whole book, I feel like it was very fast how it was paced. Like summers and winters would go by in one chapter, or 1 year would have passed. Like the last chapter would have been Autumn was 14, and then it would be 15th birthday had already passed for Autumn. And I think that pacing was very fast, a little too fast, and especially when it gets to the last bit of the book, when it actually gets slow, because that's when the real like plot starts actually getting together. Like that's the climax of the book. It gets slower, but I feel like there should have been consistent pacing throughout the whole book instead of being really fast at the start but then slow towards the end. But overall, with my comments for If He Had Been With Me, I think that the actual idea of the story was very good, but things like the characters, the writing style, and the whole pacing of the book kind of ruined the vibe for me. So the third book that I dislike is probably the most controversial one in this video, and it is a book that BookTok has strongly been recommending to me for a very long time, and it is The Inheritance Games. FYI, I did read the whole Inheritance Games series of the first trilogy. I couldn't bring myself to read the second trilogy because it didn't really follow through with the story, and I didn't really want to read it after I've gotten really bored of the first series. So you cannot say that I did not try it. I did try it. So a quick summary of the Inheritance Games is that it starts off with the main character Avery, who is a teenager just trying to get through life, trying to be stable with job security and just wanting to get into a good college. And Avery lives with her half-sister Libby, who is a few years older than her, and Avery's mom is dead, and Libby and Avery's dad is just out of the picture, so they've been really fending for themselves. And one day Avery comes to school and they have a message for her that she has been asked to be at the will reading of the famous billionaire who's now dead, Tobias Hawthorne. And and she goes to the Hawthorne mansion and she finds out that she has been written into the will of Tobias Hawthorne to receive all the money that he has left behind in his will. So none has went to his actual family, but all of it has went to Avery. So it's a rags to riches kind of story, and it explores Avery's kind of rise to fame and her change in lifestyles and how she's dealing with all of this money, because there are a few rules and contracts in place and there are people who she meets. And yeah, don't get me wrong, Avery was actually a very good character to start. She was self-sufficient, she was resourceful, she was fending for Libby and she was fending for herself. But I think as the series went on, as the love triangle progressed, it just made Avery's character worse because she had to choose between Jameson and Grayson, and when she was with Jameson, she could just always think about Grayson too and what it would be like to be with him, which I think really like demoted Avery's character altogether. And also after she became a part of the Hawthorne household and she like rightfully earned her place, I think that was pretty much all she could think about, how she belonged there and how she felt like she belonged there. Like I get it, okay, you feel like you belong here, but you don't need to tell me this.
It's like every single page.
Jameson, he was actually a really good character. He was very like chill, he was really cool, and he didn't really mind about what was happening. He was going through life just, you know, stressless and everything, but also he had like problems to hide as well, and I think that was a really good character complex for him. But I think that also, same reason with Lightlark, that he was kind of just put in as a love interest for me. Like his character wasn't as deep and gone into as much as I would have liked, along with Grayson, who I did not like Grayson as much, probably because I don't really like morally grey characters. I like more like the fun, energetic characters. But Grayson as well, I think his whole purpose was kind of to be a love interest, and I did not like how they were just put in there kind of with the whole plot of the book. But overall they were okay characters. Also with Avery's character that I kind of forgot to add was I also don't like the fact how Avery is very selfish sometimes. Like when she is talking with Max, all she could think about is her own problems. Well, Max has her own problems too, but she just won't let Max talk about them, and Avery is very self-absorbed, thinking that she also has the worst problems in the world when she can't really listen to other people and think about their problems and their struggles through. So I didn't really find her to be very empathetic, very self-centered. Onto the plot. So the idea of games and puzzles was actually pretty original. I liked that idea, but other than that, the whole like plot twists and the plot was very boring. It was a letdown. Like every time I got to a plot twist, like I didn't see it coming, but if I did a little bit more like observing in the book, I think I would have been able to guess what would have happened. For example, when I needed to find out why Avery was the one written into the will instead of any of Tobias Hawthorne's actual family members, when I found out why, it wasn't a very big jaw-dropping plot twist moment. I was accepting of it. It wasn't very much of something it wasn't like unbelievable, if you know what I mean. Continuing on with that point, the plot wasn't very good, but also it wasn't just enough to make me want to go read the second book and the third book. I mostly just read the second and third book because I wanted to just finish the series and see if it would get better with each book, like a trust the process, but it didn't for me, and I just didn't like it, and it didn't really suit me. The pacing of the Inheritance games, this wasn't much of a problem for the first book, but for the like second and third books, I found the pacing to be very inconsistent at times. Like sometimes it would be really slow describing every single detail, but sometimes it would be so fast that Jennifer Lynn Barnes would like summarize like a month in a few pages, just like very quickly, or she would span like a half a year in a few chapters, which I think was very just rushing. And also the fact that sometimes they skipped a lot of things over, like if they were going to go find something, they were like, oh, we are running to find something, and then the next pages we found the thing. Like it was very blank in the middle of it, that I didn't like about that. But moving on to writing style. The writing style of the Inheritance games wasn't unbelievable, but I wasn't disappointed either because it was YA, like mystery. It was what you would normally expect from a book, and having read the Naturals, that's what I expected too. So it wasn't much of a surprise with the writing style. It was okay. It was good to read with the writing style though if you take other elements of the story away. But a few side notes, I think that Jennifer Lynn Barnes, just a theory, but with the Inheritance games, I know it came out after the Naturals, and I actually really liked the Naturals. It was very good. The plot in the Naturals was so good. All the plot twists were unbelievable. Like I couldn't think of it myself. But I think the Inheritance games was a lot more like BookTok-y. It fit a lot of the BookTok tropes, and I think Jennifer Lynn Barnes may have done that on purpose because it was a newer book and BookTok was getting more of a thing. She wanted to fit into those a bit more, but no hate to Jennifer Lynn Barnes because The Naturals was actually a very good series. I actually thoroughly enjoyed that series as well. So we have made it to the end of the video after my rigorous breakdowns of each of the books, and I have said it before and I will say it again. Comment down below your opinions and if you disagree or agree with me, because I really want to see what you think and your side of the story as well. And if you like this video, consider subscribing and liking this. Bye!